Hey guys, welcome to Dual Pulse TCG. Today is the very first episode of our straightforward deck list series where we're going to be looking at the basics of specific deck archetypes, focusing on different card games. We're going to just look at a general overlay of the entire deck as a whole, specific cards. We'll go over basically what they do, why they're in there. We're not going to go into deep, in-depth detail like reading every single card. So if you're newer to the game and you need to read the card, feel free to pause the video and read the text. But otherwise, let's get to it. Starting off with the heart and soul of our deck, we do play 4 copies of Samurai Chieftain HYU-GA. Now, this is our main Vanguard ride, so I do want to read the complete text of this card because our entire deck is based off of these 2 skills. So, act. On Van, once per turn, counterblast 1. Search your deck for up to 1 card with the same grade as one of your opponent's units. Call it to rearguard, shuffle your deck, and change the name of all of your and your opponent's units to this unit's card name. So we're using it to search out units for utility that we're going to need either at that moment or in the following turns. We change everything to HYU-GA's name, and in turn we are able to activate a lot of big power boosts during our turn for us. And also it activates a secondary skill, assuming that we can fulfill the cost, which is act. On Van, cost, Soul Blast a grade 3, and return all of your opponent's rear guards with the same card name as your or your opponent's other unit to the deck and shuffle it. So after we use HYU-GA's first skill of counterblasting 1, searching for a unit, and changing everything in play to HYU-GA's name, we can use this skill to board wipe our opponent by selecting one of our rear guards that's named HYU-GA, and since everything in play is named HYU-GA, our opponent will shuffle all their rear guards back into the deck. So it is an insane skill and a really good Vanguard ride. Going into our support grade 3 lineup, we do play 3 copies of Fantasy Petal Storm Shirayuki, arguably the most powerful card ever printed in the standard format. She's a great defender, she's super versatile, and we really want to see her throughout the entire game, so we play 3 copies of her. 3 copies of Stealth Fiend One-Eye Nyudo. Big booster, shoots himself in the soul to set us up for our board wipe turn, and helps us net a card going into our opponent's turn that we may need. Really good card. 2 copies of Covert Demonic Dragon Hyakki Vogue. Now, assuming we were able to resolve HYU-GA's skill with this card either in play or searched off of HYU-GA's skill, this is our power booster. This is the one that gives us a universal 10k across the board when we activate his skill. Really, really good card. A lot of people can argue that you only need to play 1 of this card, but it feels really bad if you damage check it early because we have no way of getting it back, so I believe 2 copies is correct. Finishing off our grade 3 lineup, we do play 1 copy of Covert Demonic Dragon Dansetsu Anarch. Now, I was a little skeptical about playing this card initially, but the more I test played this deck, the more I realized, especially if our opponent is damage denying us, we do run a little bit low on counterblast mid to late game. So having this card available off of HYU-GA's search if we're out of counterblast to still give all of our rear guards a universal 5k is really good. Our grade 2 lineup plays 4 copies of Stealth Fiend Jakotsu Girl. She's a really good utility card for this deck. She basically says we're either going to deal damage or we're going to go search for a Shirayuki unit or Soul Charge 1. 4 copies of Stealth Rogue of Indignation Meomaru. Just another way for us to generate huge numbers going into our Alpha Strike turn. Really, really good card. I'm really glad we got it. 2 copies of Swift Archer FUSHIMI. Assuming our deck is doing what it needs to do, we're going to have a lot of rear guards, so he just pretty much becomes a good old-fashioned 14k beater. Looking at our grade 1 lineup, we play 4 copies of Stealth Beast Million Rat. It's just another way for us to filter through our deck and fill up our board. 4 copies of Stealth Fiend Rainy Madam. She allows us to continue to generate more soul and also to recycle our Shirayuki units. And 2 copies of Bangasa Stealth Rogue Sukerock. He's just a cheeky way for us to help close out games if we need that last attack to finish off our opponent. Our trigger lineup is pretty generic. We're playing 4 draw, 4 heal, 8 crit. Just because of how fast the format is, we want to be able to apply as much pressure as possible, and hitting those early crits allows us to do that in the early game, and then having 8 critical forces our opponent to work more on protecting against our Vanguard swings than they would if we were just playing fronts. Thanks again everybody for watching the video. If you liked what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe for more future content. It really means a lot to me, but let me know in the comments below, what do you guys feel like is the best deck going into 2020 that has a chance to beat Bermuda Triangle? Is it Murakumo? Do you feel like there's another archetype that has a better shot to consistently beat Bermuda Triangle? Are we just going to be lost in this Bermuda cycle until new support? Let me know. Until next time though guys, I'll see you around.